Jack Harrison stumbled upon the strangest sight in the woods. An elderly alien, battered and bruised, gasping for breath. "Don't move," Jack growled, aiming his rifle. "Who, or what, are you?" Jack squinted through the morning mist, his rifle steady in his hands. The woods near his rural home had always been his sanctuary, a place to find peace and remember simpler times. Today, however, was different. Today, he found something, or rather, someone, entirely unexpected. A strange figure lay crumpled against a tree, barely breathing. Jack approached cautiously, his rifle aimed. The creature was unlike anything he'd ever seen, tall, with a blue hue to its skin and eyes that flickered with an otherworldly glow. "Don't move," Jack growled. Or what, are you?" The alien's eyes fluttered open, filled with pain and fear. "Theox," it whispered, voice trembling. "Help, please." Jack's military training kicked in, assessing the situation. Despite the alien's strange appearance, its injuries were real. He lowered his rifle slightly. "Can you stand?" Theox shook his head weakly. Jack sighed, slinging his rifle over his shoulder. "All right, let's get you out of here." He hoisted the alien onto his back, surprised at how light it felt. As he trudged back to his cabin, Jack couldn't help but think of the comrades he'd carried off battlefields, their faces etched in pain and desperation. At the cabin, Jack laid Theox on the couch and called his dog, Max. "Watch him," he instructed, rummaging through his first aid kit. "This is going to be one hell of a story." Theox's eyes tracked Jack's movements, a mix of gratitude and suspicion in their depths. Jack cleaned the wounds as best as he could, talking softly to keep Theox calm. "You're lucky I found you." "Name's Jack. Retired Army. What happened to you?" "Left behind," Theox managed, wincing. "Injured. Too old." Jack frowned. The alien's story struck a chord. He knew what it felt like to be discarded after giving everything. "Rest now. We'll figure this out." The next day, Jack gathered his old war buddies. Frank, a burly mechanic, Sam, a wiry former medic, and Pete, a soft-spoken sniper. They arrived with skepticism but trusted Jack's judgment. "Jack, you've finally lost it," Frank muttered, staring at Theox. "An alien." Jack crossed his arms. "He's hurt and needs our help. We've seen worse." Sam examined Theox with professional curiosity. "These injuries, we can treat some, but we need to understand more." Theox, gaining strength, began to speak more coherently. "Thank you for your kindness. I fought many battles. My people left me here." Pete, who had been silent, nodded slowly. "War's the same everywhere, huh?" Over the next few days, the veterans worked together, blending human and alien treatments. Theox shared snippets of his intergalactic war, his stories resonating with the men. Despite the differences, they found common ground in their shared experiences. One evening, as they sat around a fire, Jack asked, "Why did they leave you, Theox?" Theox looked into the flames, eyes reflecting deep sorrow. "Too old, too broken, no longer useful." The men fell silent, each lost in their thoughts. Frank finally broke the silence. "Well, you're useful to us. We take care of our own." Jack nodded, a sense of purpose filling the void left by his military service. "We'll keep you safe, Theox. You're one of us now." Theox's eyes shone with gratitude. "Thank you, my friends. Together, we are stronger." In those woods, an unlikely bond formed. Jack and his friends found a new mission, and Theox found a new home. As the fire crackled and the night grew darker, they knew they were no longer alone. In the days following Theox's arrival, the quiet life in Jack's rural town began to stir. Odd lights flickered in the woods at night, and strange humming noises resonated through the trees. The townsfolk, usually accustomed to the peace of their surroundings, started whispering about the peculiar events. "Jack, what's going on out there?" asked Martha, the nosy neighbor, peering over Jack's fence one morning. "Just working on some old projects, Martha. Nothing to worry about," Jack replied with a forced smile, waving her off. Inside, he felt the growing tension. Sheriff Tom Reynolds, having caught wind of the rumors, decided to visit Jack. Pulling up to the cabin, he stepped out of his cruiser, his eyes scanning the area with practiced scrutiny. "Morning, Jack. Got a minute?" Reynolds asked, his tone friendly yet probing. "Sure thing, Sheriff," Jack replied, wiping his hands on a rag and stepping onto the porch. "What brings you out here?" "There's been talk of some odd happenings around your place. Folks are a bit spooked," the sheriff said, looking Jack in the eye. Jack maintained his calm demeanor. "Just tinkering with some old equipment. You know how it is out here in the sticks. Nothing sinister, I assure you." Reynolds nodded slowly, though his eyes betrayed lingering doubts. "Mind if I take a look around?" Jack's heart raced, but he forced a casual shrug. "Be my guest. Just don't trip over my mess." The sheriff wandered around the property, his footsteps crunching on the gravel. Inside, Theox stayed hidden, his breathing shallow, trusting Jack's assurances. After a tense few minutes, Reynolds returned to the front porch. "Seems quiet enough," he conceded. "But Jack, if there's something going on, you need to tell me." "Understood, Sheriff. Just trying to enjoy my retirement," Jack replied, giving a genuine smile this time. The sheriff nodded, returning to his car but not without a final glance back. With the sheriff gone, Jack let out a deep breath. He returned inside to find Theox peering from behind the curtain, his eyes filled with concern. "Is it safe?" Theox asked, his voice a soft whisper. "For now. But we need to be more careful," Jack replied, his tone firm. "We can't afford to draw more attention." That evening, the veterans gathered at Jack's cabin. As they shared their stories, Theox listened intently, occasionally sharing snippets of his own experiences from the intergalactic war. "I've seen many battles, but nothing compares to the brutality of Earth's wars," Theox admitted, his eyes distant with memory. "War is war, no matter where it's fought," Jack said quietly. "But we're survivors. We adapt. We help each other." The bond between them grew stronger. Jack's friends, initially skeptical, began to see Theox as more than just an alien. He became a fellow soldier, a comrade in arms who had seen and endured much like them. Late at night, as the group dispersed, Jack and Theox sat by the fire. "You've given me hope, Jack. A reason to keep going," Theox said, his gratitude evident. "We're in this together, Theox," Jack replied. "We won't let you down." As the fire crackled, Jack knew their journey was far from over. The town's curiosity was only growing, and they would need to be vigilant. But for now, they had each other, and that was enough. Strange activities around Jack's home had not gone unnoticed. Lights flickered inexplicably, and peculiar sounds echoed through the woods at night. Whispers spread among the townsfolk, their curiosity turning into fear. Pressure mounted on Sheriff Tom Reynolds to take action. Determined to uncover the truth, he organized a search party. As dusk settled, Jack and his friends gathered at the old barn, their chosen hideout for Theox. The tension was palpable. "We can't let them find him," Jack said, his voice resolute. "Theox isn't a threat. He's one of us now." The barn, an ancient structure weathered by time, provided limited cover. The veterans worked quickly, creating makeshift barriers and hiding spots. Theox, though anxious, helped as best he could, his frail hands trembling. "We're doing the right thing," muttered Charlie, one of Jack's old war buddies, as he secured a tarp. "He's more than just an alien. He's a fellow soldier." Suddenly, the sound of approaching footsteps and murmured voices filled the air. The search party was close. Jack motioned for silence, his heart pounding. Sheriff Reynolds led the group, flashlight beams piercing the gathering darkness. "Jack, we know you're hiding something," the sheriff called out. Come out and let's settle this peacefully. Jack stepped forward, hands raised. Tom, you have to trust me. Theox means no harm. He's just trying to survive. Survive, or is he a danger we don't yet understand? Reynolds retorted, eyes narrowing. We need to see him for ourselves. At that moment, a commotion erupted from the rear of the barn. One of the townsfolk had tripped over a hidden wire and fallen. A sharp cry of pain cutting through the night. Jack and the sheriff rushed over, finding the man clutching his leg, blood seeping through his fingers. Move aside. Theox suddenly appeared, his alien visage both eerie and compassionate. I can help. Reynolds hesitated, suspicion warring with the immediate need for aid. Do it, he finally said, stepping back. Theox knelt beside the injured man, his hands glowing faintly as he worked. A few moments later, the bleeding stopped, and the man's pain eased. The crowd watched in stunned silence. This is what Theox can do, Jack said softly. He's a healer, not a threat. Reynolds eyed Theox with a mix of awe and uncertainty. If he's really here to help, why the secrecy? Because fear blinds, Theox replied, his voice gentle but firm. I have seen too much war, too much pain. I sought refuge, not conflict. The sheriff took a deep breath, the weight of his duty pressing heavily on his shoulders. All right, Jack, but any sign of trouble, and he's out. Jack nodded, relief washing over him. You have my word, Tom. He's safe with us. The tension slowly dissipated as the search party dispersed, the town's initial fear replaced by cautious curiosity. Theox was no longer a mysterious threat, but a figure of intrigue and potential. As they settled back in the barn, Jack clapped Theox on the shoulder. You did good, buddy. Real good. Theox smiled, a mix of exhaustion and gratitude. Thank you, Jack, for everything. The night drew to a close with a sense of accomplishment and hope. Theox had proven his worth, and the veterans had protected their friend. The path to acceptance was still uncertain, but they were one step closer to a peaceful coexistence. The sun was setting as the search party gathered at Jack's property. Sheriff Reynolds stood at the front, his eyes scanning the area with determination. The tension was palpable. Jack and his veteran friends, with Theox hidden in the barn, knew they were running out of time. We know something's going on here, Jack, Reynolds said, his voice firm. Hand over whatever you're hiding. Jack stepped forward, his hands raised. Tom, listen to me. Theox is not a threat. He's a friend, and he's injured. Let us show you. A scream pierced the air. One of the townsfolk, part of the search party, had tripped and fallen, a deep gash on his leg bleeding profusely. Without hesitation, Jack motioned to Theox, who emerged from his hiding place, moving with a calm, otherworldly grace. Stay back, Reynolds shouted, drawing his gun. No, Jack interjected. Let him help. Theox knelt beside the injured man, his hands glowing with a soft blue light. The crowd watched in awe as the wound began to close, the bleeding stopped, and the man's pain visibly eased. Theox's advanced medical knowledge and his gentle touch worked wonders. Sheriff Reynolds lowered his gun, his eyes wide with disbelief. What just happened? Theox has knowledge far beyond ours, Jack explained. He's here to share it, to help us. Look at what he's done. The sheriff approached cautiously, staring at the now healed wound. The injured man, who moments before had been writhing in agony, stood up, his eyes filled with gratitude and amazement. Thank you, he whispered to Theox, who nodded solemnly. Reynolds turned to the crowd. You've seen it with your own eyes. Theox means no harm. He's here to help us. Let's give him a chance. The townsfolk murmured among themselves, the initial fear giving way to curiosity and acceptance. They had seen a miracle, and it was hard to deny the truth. In the days that followed, Theox became an integral part of the community. He shared his medical knowledge with the local doctors, introducing new treatments that significantly improved the health and well-being of the townspeople. The bond between Theox and Jack's group of veteran friends grew stronger, each day filled with shared stories and mutual respect. "Never thought I'd see the day an alien would become one of us," said Tom, one of Jack's closest friends, as they sat around a campfire one evening. Jack smiled, looking at Theox, who was busy explaining a new medical technique to Dr. Ellis. "Life has a funny way of surprising us, Tom. Theox might be from another world, but he's proven to be one of us." Sheriff Reynolds visited often, his initial suspicion replaced by genuine interest and respect. "I was wrong about you, Jack," he admitted one afternoon. "And about Theox. He's done more good here in a few weeks than I could have imagined." Jack patted Reynolds on the back. "We all have our moments, Tom. What matters is we're moving forward together." As the seasons changed, Theox's presence brought a sense of renewal to the town. His knowledge not only improved their health but also brought the community closer, bridging gaps that had long existed. The story of the alien who was left to die but found a new life among humans became a local legend, a testament to the power of compassion and second chances. In the quiet moments, Jack often reflected on how much had changed. "Second chances," he would say to Theox. "They're a rare gift, and I'm glad we could give you one." Theox, with a gentle smile, would respond, "The gift is mutual, my friend. You have given me a second life, one filled with hope and purpose." And so, in the heart of a quiet rural town, an alien and a group of veterans found a new beginning, proving that sometimes all it takes is a little understanding and a lot of heart.